Okay, the next formula we're going to talk about is the midpoint formula. So with that, it's going to be average of the x's, comma, average of the y's. So what we mean by this, it says find the midpoint of the line segment whose endpoints are given. So if we have the point -2, -7, that's going to be down here somewhere, and then -6, 1 would be up here. The midpoint would be the point that's halfway in between those. So it's going to end up being an ordered pair. So what we need to do is find the average of the x's. So my x's are -2 and -6. To find the average of two numbers, we just add them together and divide by 2. So -2 plus -6 is -8, divide by 2, we get -4. Same thing for the y's. -7 plus 1 is -6, divide by 2, we get -3. So the point -4 and -3 would be halfway in between the other 2 points. On our next one, average of the x's, we'd add our x values together and divide by 2. So 9 plus -2 is 7, divide by 2, we get 3.5. For the y's, we would do 0 plus -4 is -4, divide by 2, we get -2. Now if you look this up online, they probably aren't going to tell you that the formula is average of the x's, average of the y's. It'll probably look like this online instead. x1 plus x2 all over 2, comma, y1 plus y2 all over 2. What I want you to notice is all they did was add them together and divide by 2, which is the same as taking the average. So I just think this is a little easier way to remember the formula. Now when you get to your worksheet, on the front side, they're just going to give you a picture of the graphs of line segments. So you're going to have to figure out where each endpoint is at. So for example, if we look at number 2 on your worksheet, the endpoint in the upper left-hand corner is at -5, 5. And our other endpoint is at 2, -5. So that will be the first thing you'll need to do is figure out where your endpoints are located, and then to find the midpoint, once again, it's just average of the x's, average of the y's. So -5 plus 2 is -3, divide by 2, we get -1.5. Average of the y's, 5 plus -5 is 0, divide by 2, still 0. So the midpoint would be -1.5, comma 0. When you get to the back side of your worksheet on numbers 9 through 20, those are just like we did in your notes. And then the next section, numbers 21 through 26, the directions change a little bit. So let's look at number 21 together. It says find the other endpoint of the line segment with the given endpoint and midpoint. So it tells us that one of the endpoints is at -1, 9, and then we're told that the midpoint is at -9, -10. What we have to find is the other endpoint. So since we don't know what it is, I'm just going to call the values x and y, and we know that this is the other endpoint. So if we think about how we come up with a midpoint, this is average of the x's, this is the average of the y's. So if -9 is the average of the x's, I could set up this equation. So -1 plus my other x value, I'm just calling x, and then divided by 2, that gives me -9. For my y's, when I found their average, I got -10. So that means 9 plus y divided by 2 equals the y coordinate of our midpoint, -10. Now we just have to go back and solve these two equations. So notice that this entire side is being divided by 2. To undo that, we can multiply each side by 2. So now we have -1 plus x equals -18. To get x alone, we would add 1 to both sides, and we get x equals -17. So the x coordinate of our midpoint is -17. Now we have to find the y coordinate of our midpoint. So once again, this entire side's being divided by 2, so we would multiply by 2. So 9 plus y equals negative 20. To get y alone, I'd have to subtract 9. So we get y equals negative 29. So the other endpoint for number 21 would be at negative 17, negative 29.